The first bomb that America dropped on Japan was equivalent to about 75 million grenades, about 15,000 tons of TNT. It left a blast radius of total destruction for about 1 mile, and then another 1.5 mile radius of severely damaged buildings. The one that was dropped on Nagasaki was 21,000 tons of TNT, or 105 million grenades. The total casualties of about 210,000 people by the end of the year came mostly from the radiation. And for a few years, America was the only country that held it, and it terrified the rest of the world. Yet by 1949, the USSR also developed the atomic bomb for the same reasons that the American did. They imported enough intelligent German scientists. And then the entire West was terrified because Stalin, a ruthless butcher, had access to the most powerful weapon humanity has ever seen. By 1954, the power of those two bombs were dwarfed by America's emergence of the hydrogen bomb. That's the equivalent of 50 billion grenades. 50 billion, meaning 500 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Nagasaki. But about those 50 billion grenades, I asked ChatGPT how many grenades were made in the history of the world, and their estimate was 500 million to just over a billion, meaning that one hydrogen bomb is equivalent to more than 50 times all the grenades that were ever created in the history of the world. The blast radius of total destruction was 3 times more than Nagasaki, and the radius of heavily damaged buildings was about twice the amount. The difference between the atomic bomb and the hydrogen bomb are a matter of fission and fusion. Fission is just when an atom is broken up, causes a huge release of energy, boom, big explosion. Fusion is what happens when a large atom is broken up and then 2 or more lighter atoms fuse together. That's a much larger release of energy. And once both axes had the hydrogen bomb, you start to see this huge stockpile of nuclear weapons growing. America at first was far ahead of Russia. While the Russians couldn't really innovate anything new, they could definitely make the bombs bigger and better. And by 1961, they released the Tsar Bomba, which is capable of unleashing 50 megatons, or 250 billion grenades. In 1968, the US decided to sign the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty and started dropping the amount it produced. In the 1970s, because of more heightened tensions with the USSR, they began to produce more again. By that time, the US developed a much more horrifying weapon called the neutron bomb, also known as the real estate bomb. The explosion destroyed very little property, but it killed everybody around for a 1 to 2 mile radius. It was mainly invented just in case Russia tried to invade West Germany. The USSR tried to make one, but they couldn't quite get it. And it was at that time that the Soviet Union skyrocketed their armaments production. By 1987, there were 61,682 nukes on the planet. 40,000 of those nukes were Russian. Fortunately, after the fall of the Soviet Union, both axes decided to have a strong policy of disarmament, and now there are only 9,700 in the planet today. That is still enough bombs to destroy the planet at least 100 times over. The thermonuclear weapons that we have now are much more precise, and they're cleaner, meaning there's less fallout. And a lot of these weapons have yields that can be adjusted for the target, so anywhere between 0.3 to 50 kilotons, or 15,000 to about 250 million grenades. My hope is that military weaponry will focus more on precision instead of just widespread destruction. Why should the possible obliteration of countries, or maybe even the whole planet, even be on the table? When Russia is defeated by Ukraine, the whole world needs to campaign for further nuclear disarmament, and hopefully we get this number closer to 0. I am the Geo Husar, and total annihilation isn't the answer. Thanks for watching.